good morning. Welcome to UnitedTV, where we bring you a groundbreaking conversation that unites us all. Today, we are thrilled to have a trailblazing Lisa Blunt Rochester on our show. As she continues to make an aim to become the first woman, Black person, and a person of color elected to the U.S. Senate from Delaware. Join us for an unforgettable episode filled with inspiration, empowerment, and vision for more to unite us. Let's dive in and celebrate this historical moment together. I'm gonna have Congresswoman in right now, and then she's gonna be joining us. All right, Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester is with us. And if it's okay with you, Lisa, I'm going to call you Lisa. That's fine, right?
That's fine. That's fine.
Well, thank you. I just want to give a kind of brief background. Born in 1962 in Philadelphia, finished Fairleigh Dickinson University with international relations in the BA and the Master of Business from the same place, and worked in the housing, the Urban League for the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League for a while before you become a congresswoman. And then you become the history first step. You are the first African-American to represent Delaware in the U.S. House of Representatives. Now there's another challenge is waiting for you, and we are so grateful for you to join us, and then for you to make the history second time and becoming the first woman, Black person, and the person of color elected for the U.S. Senate from Delaware. So these are giving you a lot of responsibilities. I know you are working a lot. So my first question is going to be going from Congress to the Senate. I know there are differences will be there. And what are you expecting, and how are you planning to make a difference from this position to the next?
Well, first of all, Kemal, it is so good to be on your show. Thank you for your patience and perseverance. We've been trying to make this happen for a while now because we've been connected for a while now. So first of all, thank you for that. And then secondly, thank you for providing this, this forum for people to get insights, information, and hear directly from those of us who are serving you. I get the opportunity to serve in Congress, and as you said, I am hopeful to be the next senator from the great state of Delaware. But, you know, as I looked back over the course of this journey, I think back to an intern that was a grad student. I started as a grad student at, you mentioned Fairleigh Dickinson, which is where I got my undergrad degree in international relations, because I loved the world. And I always felt if we understood each other better, maybe we wouldn't see war. Maybe we wouldn't see these clashes. And again, that's why what you're doing is so important. So I studied international relations, and then I went kind of lived my life, had a son, a little boy, and I went to a town hall meeting in Delaware for then Congressman Tom Carper. He was the congressman, and this is 1988. I was a grad student at University of Delaware, where I got my second degree in urban affairs and public policy. And so I had met Tom, I shook his hand, he said, we have internships. And that began a journey of public service. As you mentioned, I worked in his office as a caseworker, helping people with Social Security disability and IRS cases. And then I worked to help bring resources to Delaware in that office to deal with issues like housing affordability. And then he became governor, many Delawareans know, and I served in his cabinet as the Deputy Secretary of Health and Social Services, which is why you and I have a strong connection. And then I served as Secretary of Labor, which is why jobs and the economy are so important. Our first woman governor came in, Ruth Ann Minner, and she actually appointed me as head of state personnel. So then I got a chance to see healthcare from another perspective. as an employer. I got to work on hiring, firing, training, culture. And that to me also fits into the work that I do in Congress because I have a big focus on jobs and the economy. Then as you mentioned, I went to the Urban League and focused on the inclusion of people of color in health, education, and economic development. But then I left, I got married, fell in love, got married for a second time, and actually moved to Shanghai, where my husband was working. And he was from Maryland, a University of Delaware graduate as well. And we met later in life, the age of 40. And I ended up moving to China to write a book with other women about reinventing yourself in another place. And I think that ties into the work that I do too. But it wasn't until 2014 when we had been back in the States, we were living back in the States, and Charles went on a business trip. And I know you know this, he played a game of basketball before his first meeting, ruptured his Achilles tendon, and blood clots went to his heart and lungs. And at 52, the love of my life passed away. And it was at that moment, a whole year, I just was kind of sad and mad, and just getting up in the morning sometimes was a success and in my grief. And I was literally in the supermarket and saw dad put back grapes because they were $9. That shook me out of my own pain. And you recall, they were calling our city, Wilmington, murder town because of gun violence. And I said, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I'm still alive. I can serve. And so I ran for Congress, having never run for anything at all in my life. And I always share that for people out there. I was over 50. I was a woman. I had never been in even a debate, and I was debating lawyers. But every story I heard from Delawareans kept me going. And I share that because in Congress, I've been able to work on getting clean drinking water to Delaware, air quality monitors, jobs. And now the ability to go to the Senate, it is just a whole nother level to allow us to do this work in a deeper way so that we can focus on those issues of the economy and health, but also look at our democracy. Because in the Senate, I'd like to work on voting rights. In the Senate, I'd like to work on protecting our fundamental freedoms, even our reproductive freedoms. And in the Senate is the place where judges come to be confirmed, cabinet members come to be confirmed. And so to me, I think it would be an opportunity to serve Delaware at a deeper level and at a greater level. And that's what I hope to be able to do, to be able to go to the Senate and work on those things that we've already worked on, but also on democracy and making sure that we are a strong country.
No, that's great. And I know you are going to do a great job. Now, one of the realities that we have today is that the world actually is going through a very challenging time.
Yes.
So in some cases, we have these, we feel these changes, these challenges. It used to be at maybe a little bit more higher level, but now every level in the countries, as you know, I was born and raised in Turkey, but this is my home, United States. I've been here for 25 years, but I do visit Turkey very frequently, and I see the challenges that we have. It is everywhere. So these challenges are not small ones, and the one of the big part of this challenge is the cost. And I'm going to go into the economy, but first I'm going to go into the healthcare. So now in US, the healthcare insurance for an individual age from 20 to 40, that's about $400 to $600 a month. So now when I tell our friends in Turkey, this is monthly cost, they're like, oh my God, like that's almost like a monthly salary. So if it's the ages from 40 to 60, I used to be on the lower part of this box, but now I'm on the higher part of this box.
Me too. Me too.
It goes from $600 to $1,250 per month. And then individuals are suffering from this, and companies who are providing insurance, like myself, we are also having difficult times. Being in the Senate, and I know you are going to be elected, so I don't want to give you a free ticket. So, but it is you not only you deserve this, but this is the seat that you are going to have, and after November we are going to have another maybe event, and then we'll have you as the U.S. Senator. So that there's no, I'm not going to say if you are elected. I know that you are going to be elected. So what things can be done from the Senate level when you have with your new position? What can we actually offer more to make this easier for everyone?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for the vote of confidence. One of the things that I've said so much throughout this campaign is that we're not taking one vote for granted. We're not taking anybody for granted. We know that this is a serious race. And so, I appreciate the vote of confidence, but and I'm hopeful that I will get votes, like real actual votes on top of that as well, because this moment is really important. And you hit on the issue of healthcare. I mean, one of the reasons why I ran in the first place is because, I think, I know you and I both believe that healthcare should not be a luxury. It should be a right. And, I've been fortunate to experience it in different countries. My son was actually born in Paris 38 years ago. As I mentioned, I've lived in other countries, and what I know is that the rising cost of healthcare, as you said, affects individuals' pocketbooks, and people shouldn't have to choose between their rent and their healthcare costs. And it also affects employers. And having been the head of state personnel, I also know what that means in terms of total compensation and what we can provide to even recruit and retain employees. And then even for small businesses in our state, as you know, they're the backbone of our state. And so they're being able to afford it also creates a strong economy. What I've been able to focus on in the House, and what I'd love to continue to focus on in the Senate, is ways to lower those healthcare costs. I mean, we've been fortunate. A lot of times people know some of the challenges that we've had over these past 2 years, but under President Biden and the Inflation Reduction Act, we've been able to cap the cost of insulin to $35 for seniors. That's huge. We're coming up, we will cap your healthcare costs to $2,000. There are cancer drugs that cost more than that. And so when we look at some of the things that we've started to do and that we've been able to accomplish, it does have an impact. But some of the things that you and I have talked about are more systemic. How do we deal with some of the systemic issues and the root cause issues of why our healthcare costs are so high? And so even in this, as I'm on the campaign trail, part of the conversations I've been having with people like yourself who are doing this work is, if I were elected, how do I hit the ground running? How do I know what systemic changes we need to look at? I've heard from different professionals about reimbursements to our healthcare providers. If they can't get the money to be reimbursed, how they go out of business. We already have shortages in nurses. We have shortages in urology. I could run down the names of the different professions we have shortages in. Then we also have to support, and I've been really proud to be the co-lead and a champion on our federally qualified health centers. I am the co-lead on reauthorizing our federally qualified health centers with my Republican colleagues. And so to me, this is a moment that I'm using to prepare, hopefully, to be Delaware Senator and have those foundational things. But right now, I'm doing things to help lower cost, make sure that our system is based on, the looking at outcomes and not just like the dollars and cents from an insurance company. We're looking at the outcomes that people have as well. So I really appreciate your partnership on this. And in the Senate, this is one of the areas I hope to focus on, just as I have on the health subcommittee in the House.
So you actually already mentioned the physician shortage, and that was one of my main questions under the healthcare. physician shortage is real, and I know we have, I called the group non-physician providers, our nurse practitioners, our physician assistants. They are really supporting the system, but it has its own challenges. And physician shortage is going to be even more severe in this country in time. And we are going that direction. And if one of my first tasks back in the year 2000, that time my English was not so great. So then they give me this really complicated form, and I need to help one of our cardiologists to have a J1 visa. So then we need to get the first site approval, and then we need to do the, this is the time where we don't have ChatGPT, so that hey, you have to find everything on your own. We the AOL dial-in connection. So, and since then I did probably more than 35, 40 different physicians work, and that's because we have a shortage in every area in medicine. And part of it is because of the high demand coming from, the insurances. Some of them are coming, probably the changing generation. These are all real issues. Now, we have some initiatives in Delaware, but in some cases, I feel like there are more can be done. Now, as the U.S. Senate, what can you actually do more from that position?
Yeah, well, first of all, as I mentioned, I'm currently on the health subcommittee in the House, and I get to hear directly from providers and across the spectrum. As a matter of fact, last year I introduced a jobs agenda, and it was based on conversations that I've had with Delawareans. And one of the bills in that jobs agenda is a bipartisan bill focused on the nursing workforce shortage, because we are seeing and feeling the impact. But as you said, there are so many other specialties that have come to us and shared, not just there's the how can we stay in business, but there's also the aging population of the providers themselves. We are losing, as I said yesterday, I met with different doctors in different specialties. We're losing them because some of them are getting to an age where they say, I can retire. And so to me, I think we need to capitalize on some of the lessons that we even learned from the pandemic. Like one of the challenges that I'm seeing is that people want to go back, and we had flexibilities during the pandemic. We had telehealth. I actually have co-lead a bill on we call it the Telehealth Modernization Act. We knew that mental health became such a huge issue. And when I first got into Congress, I started a bipartisan Future of Work caucus, because I wanted us to work as Democrats and Republicans and recognize that the world is changing. You mentioned ChatGPT, automation, machine learning, artificial intelligence. We're not keeping up with the technology. So even as we look at these shortages, thinking about how can we leverage technology? How can we create flexibilities? How can we make sure that we even look at reimbursement systems and make sure that we are, and lastly, how do we incentivize? How do we create a pipeline for people to go into the healthcare profession? To me, as Delaware Senator, I want to continue that work. And I want to find those real partners. Now, hopefully, if I make it, I will have relationships in the House already. And I've got great relationships with the chairman and the chairwoman and the ranking member in Energy and Commerce in the House. But also look at this in the Senate as one of the lead areas that I will work on. It's something that's touching every single one of us. And so I am glad that you have been providing us also with suggestions. And I encourage anybody watching right now, if there are ideas or things that you have, share them with us. If you are believe in what we're trying to do, go to lisabluntrochester.com. Send us a message and let us know the things that you think as we prepare for, I'm going to be like you, Kemal. I'm going to say, as we prepare for the Senate.
All right. So now Lisa, I know you also mentioned the reproductive rights, and abortion is a big topic. Now, personally, and I just want to be honest, I have my position on the abortion is a little bit different. Now, but that's because maybe I'm not as educated as others, or maybe I may have my own issues. But I know that this is a problem for many people out there, and I know you are actually helping them and be the voice of their rights, and you actually added the reproductive rights. So that was a little bit different than just the maybe mentioning the abortion. Can you just tell us about that work that you are doing on that side?
Yes, thank you so much for asking me this question. And I think so many people have different views and different positions, but for the majority of my life, over 50 years of my life, I had the right to do with my body what I wanted. I, I, you know, and the to see the Dobbs decision overturned really is foundational to our own bodily autonomy. And I think about the issue of abortion care, of reproductive freedom, of reproductive rights as something that is medical, conversations between doctors and patients. That's important. I think of it as something as private, and I think of it as something that is about your family, your faith, whatever it is, your decision. And to see the restriction of those rights, knowing that I have a daughter and a daughter-in-law, knowing that I have now a granddaughter, I don't want us to go backwards. I want us to go forward. And what we know is the people that are most impacted by that overturning of the Supreme Court are women who are young, women who maybe live in rural areas, women without means who may be poor, and women of color are disproportionately impacted by that decision. And so for me, this is a part of why I am stepping up and running, because I want to protect that choice, our fundamental freedoms. I always say on the floor of the House and other places where I've testified and talked about this, there's no room in our wombs for politicians. It's just that it's not our business to tell other women what to do with their bodies. It's the doctor's decision, it's the family decision, it's that individual. And most recently, many people may have been following the case in Alabama, the court there that basically is now making it creating fear, I would think, for families who want to use in vitro fertilization, IVF, not just the individual woman and their family, but also those doctors, those people who transport embryos, the fear that they could be, charged with manslaughter or murder or something like that. It's both professional to me and it's personal. My granddaughter, my one and only grandchild, was born through IVF. My children, my son and my daughter-in-law, I remember asking them, should I talk about this? Is it okay to talk about this publicly? Now, they had showed their whole journey on social media, the journey of finally getting pregnant through IVF, and then having a miscarriage on Christmas Day 2 years ago, then trying again and having success, and then having my granddaughter born 5 days after my birthday, Lennox. This is personal to me as well as professional. And so I'm concerned that there are folks that say they support this, but even in the Senate, they had an opportunity to vote to protect IVF with Tammy Duckworth's bill, and they did not do it. My Republicans, the colleagues over there, did not do it. And so I want people to know that in me, you will have a champion for your own reproductive freedoms and rights for those of your family, and that this is about a fundamental right. And so I thank you for allowing me to even have the platform to talk about it because, you know, we've seen across the country, Democrats and Republicans feel this way. Even in Delaware, after the last election, someone came up to me and said, I'm a Republican, but I voted for you because you're fighting for my rights.
So, that's the kind of thing, right? So we should be able to talk about everything. And even if we have different opinions,
Yes.
I kind of feel like in the last couple of years, we feel a little bit fear of having a different opinion or the tolerating others. And
Yes.
one of the reasons that I settled in this country is because of the freedom of speech. Um, well, this is 25 years ago versus today, Turkey is in a much better position than where they were. But for me, this was where I felt comfortable because I didn't have to justify why I think of this or that. And
Yes.
I'm kind of like fearful that maybe we are kind of losing that as people are not tolerating different opinions.
Yeah.
But hopefully, with the election coming up and maybe settling certain things at the election, that's going to kind of set the tone for the future. That's what I would like to hope.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Again, it's the theme of my campaign is Bright Hope. And it's called Bright Hope because it's the name of the church my grandmother attended for 70 years in Philadelphia. And it to me, it's not just the name, it is a way of being, especially in dark times or when you feel dark. And I want to bring people hope that while it feels like that, there are glimmers of bright hope. We passed a bipartisan infrastructure bill, the biggest. We passed the PAC Act for our veterans, bipartisan. We're doing things, the Safer Communities Act, which I got a part of it, break the cycle of violence because of the things I heard from people in our state. So I want people to have bright hope. And I can tell you, sometimes I think it's important that we do listen to each other, seek to understand. We're not always going to agree, but let's try to respect each other and let's fight for this democracy. Let's fight for this country.
You have a very heavy schedule today, and I want to respect to that. Very quickly, border security. It's one of those where if it's, I feel like both parties, they're not understanding each other. Can you, from firsthand, can you tell us what the issue is and where we are going with that? Are we not protecting our borders?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I mean, we've made major investments, and I've seen them, and I've voted for them, both on border security. But I think we got to take a step back and recognize we have a broken immigration system. You talked about the visas, and we've had in the past bipartisan support to get things done. President Biden pulled together folks in the Senate, came up with a bipartisan deal. And unfortunately, President Trump basically said, put the brakes on this. Um, and and what I hope is that we will see something done again in a bipartisan way that recognizes, even in Delaware, we have dreamers at Delaware State University. We have employers that have needs, and then we have individuals that are look to this country as a beacon of light and protection. And so we've got to balance those different issues and also protect our borders from things like fentanyl. That's important as well. We've got an opportunity here. I'm hopeful that our Republican colleagues will come together with us to make a difference and do something. We've done other big things. This is a big thing, and we need to get it done.
And one last thing, and we don't want you to be late. So you are the first.
I'm already late, but that's okay.
So first Democrat who actually bring the ceasefire in Israel and Palestine. It was a little bit late, but you did it. You are the first one. So just like you are the first one for many other things, why are we behind with that? It's like all the other people in the Senate and in the House.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
first of all, Kemal, I think this conversation deserves its due. Like that 1 minute is not sufficient. But what I will say is that when I ran the very first time, and after Charles died, I just put a big piece of paper up across the wall in my living room to say, why me? Why now? and I cut pictures out and I put poems on there and I jotted down themes and I came up with 3 Ps. One was purpose. People should be able to live their purpose. That's healthcare. That's making sure that they have a house. That's making sure they've got a great job. The second one was peace, that we have peace in the world. That's why I was an international relations major, but also peace of mind and peace in our communities. That's why I fight for those things. And then the third P was the planet. Delaware, we see climate change more than any place else because we're the lowest mean elevation state in the country. And so for me, if there's not a planet, what are we talking about? Those 3 Ps have guided me in the House. They will guide me in the Senate, as well as working on democracy. Because as you remember, I was one of the people trapped up in the gallery on January 6th. So for me, this moment is about peace. And that's why I called for that long-term, immediate, and simultaneous ceasefire, because we need to have peace in that region and peace in the world.
Well, I know you are late, and I appreciate for your time and taking your time to answer all the questions. And I know we have a lot more to talk. We'll do those in the future. I want to wish you best luck, and we are here to support you, as you know. As you are writing the history and you become the main, one of the main elements of that, we want to be there for you. And good luck with everything you do, and let us know if you need anything. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Kemal. Bye-bye, everyone.
All right. Well, Lisa Blunt Rochester was with us. Sean is going to join me right here. Well, a lot of energy, amazing woman. She's busy. She's doing a lot of work. Agree, disagree is a different issue. On this show, we are not going into that as much, especially when we have a guest. But she's dynamic. She's focused. And one thing that I see, she's not like kind of relaxed that just because she's going to win doesn't mean that she doesn't have to work hard. So she's really driven, and I admire her with what she does. What were your
I mean, it's great that we were able to finally touch base with her and get her on the show. But I know one of the things that she was saying with most of these topics here is that it's hard to really unravel it in the necessary amount of detail, and like, you know, some of these delicate issues, you really can't just think of a solution or a resolution in such a limited time, and that some of these discussions actually do, you know, you probably could discuss some of these topics for days on end, and still have things left unsaid, with the amount of information and detail and, you know, even just data to discuss. So it's great that we're able to touch on these, but as you know, we could easily dive into any one of these mentioned topics, you know, for hours at a time. So I think what she was saying was accurate in the fact that, you know, here's a general overview, but this is no means like all we've maybe put into it. Like there's a lot more left.
Well, I mean, as you know, these are, well, number one, we appreciate for her making the time because they have a packed schedule. So I didn't mention this before. I did have a fundraising 2 years ago at my house, and there was a voting in the House in U.S. Representatives. So and she couldn't make it last day. So I had like 50 guests, full catering event. Poolside, and she couldn't make it. Now, we can't really just take these things as like, well, oh, like how dare she didn't do it. No, like they're working for a specific reason for us. That doesn't matter which party they're in. So then we had her in December for our live event, which was a kind of, again, last minute, but understanding what they're going through, what their schedule is, there's like probably 25 other people waiting there to be doing the same thing that we are doing. And because of that, we appreciated her time and effort. Right. And look, I mean, we look at everyone from what they bring to the table. So people who are working hard, they're going to win this. People who are focused, they're going to win. So she's not winning this because she's Black and first woman or first this, first that. She's fully driven. So that's the, just like the way that with Sarah McBride. Sarah is not going to win this election because she's representing some group of people as a transgender. No, she's a great politician. She's a great public servant. That's why she's going to win. And I think what I like about these individuals is that they are able to not take advantage of those special circumstances. So if I'm going to be the first in the history of something, I would probably brag about that a little bit, but they don't. So like if I'm the first Turkish Delaware governor, I'm going to probably just talk about it a lot, but they don't. Now, like, we don't brag about us being the number 17 in the US with the ACOs, right? We do actually. So we do like that, but these people are well educated, well advanced in the positions that they are in. Of course, we may have different opinions. I do want to highlight that different opinions doesn't mean that we have to be in a fight. We have to be in a conversation, and the conversation happens here at UnitedTV. That's why we do open our channel for all opinions and all different political parties. Everyone is invited, and they just need to let us know, and they need to be accessible from our side. So many of the people they are not coming is because they're not there when we call them. And again, this was a great episode, and I know you and your team did a lot for the background of what we have and getting us ready. Thank you for that. And again, thank you for our Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester joining us on a Thursday morning. And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.